Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another sort of review reaction type thing, I guess, here on my channel. I'm very excited about this because recently on my channel, if you've been following along a little bit, my cousin Cody, who is here with me again today.
Hello.
You froze right when you said that. So
Hello.
You're waving to everybody, and now you're back. Okay. Nope, now you're now you're back. It doesn't matter. We reacted to the sort of newer single at the time. I think they've released a new single since then, but I haven't listened to that one. But we reacted to one of the newer Halloween songs from Duran Duran, and it was the Dance Macabre song, which is, I believe, the first single released from the album of the same title, which will be coming out around Halloween, I think like October 27th or something. But I have been really surprised by the number of people who watched that video and the number of people who have left really good comments. And so I was talking to Cody and I was like, do you want to do another Duran Duran video? And he was like, sure. And so my plan originally for this video was to pick some of the Duran Duran songs that I like kind of across their whole catalog, but trying to focus more on the last like 20 years or so. Just their sort of more modern stuff, because that's the stuff I think I like the most, and it's probably the stuff that the fewest people have heard. I wanted to just pick a few songs maybe from a couple of their more recent albums and show them to him and see what he thought, and just kind of go through and talk about why I think they sound so good or whatever, why I like them. And over the last few days, I've gone through and I've listened to some of those albums. And I keep coming back to their second most recent album, which is called Paper Gods, which came out in 2018, I think it was. 2015. Dang, they have a lot of time between albums. 2015. And I was like, you know what? This album is such a wide variety. The production is so phenomenal. There's lots of guest artists. I'm just going to pick a bunch of songs from Paper Gods, and we're going to just listen to it, and we're going to have kind of like an experiment. We're basically going to be listening to like half of the album here. And so I want to see if YouTube will allow us to do that, first of all, because I do think that if we try to do a whole Duran Duran album, it probably wouldn't work, just based on my experience with, I guess not necessarily Duran Duran themselves, but just like huge artists that are still on record labels. Mm-hmm. You know, Metallica, we don't have any issue because they own all their stuff. But so anyway, that's what this video is going to be. We're going to go through and listen to probably 5 or 6 songs off of Paper Gods. And I know some of the people in the comments were telling me that they really like Paper Gods, but they like other of their sort of more modern albums even better than that. But like I said, I was listening to a lot of stuff, and I just keep coming back to this album. So that's why we're going to be doing that one. So I want to say at the beginning of this video, if you're new here, we're going to be doing what I just mentioned. We're going to listen to some songs. We're going to talk about it. We're going to pause between the songs, and we're going to sort of discuss what we've heard. I also have to just apologize for having to like wipe sweat off me. I've been kind of fighting this weird sort of illness for the last almost 2 months at this point. So I'm going to try not to cough as much in the video. So if you hear me speaking with sort of a strained voice, I'm trying not to cough. I do have water off to the side, and I have my handkerchief off to the side to just kind of, dab my sweat away. So I'll probably be doing that throughout the video. So I just want to apologize for that. Other than that, we don't have too much to do before we get into this. I did want to talk about Duran Duran a little bit as a whole, though, Cody, because in the last video when we recorded it, I had brought a couple of their albums, and we talked a little bit about their 2 most recent ones. Mm-hmm. But this time, I thought I would bring all of my Duran Duran albums. So we've already discussed their 2 most recent ones, and I told you that I didn't care for this album as much, but I think I need to go back and give it maybe another chance, and I think I might like it a little bit more. And if you remember, this is the album that Graham Coxon, the guitar player from Blur, did a lot of the songwriting. He co-wrote a lot of the songs and played a lot of the guitar on this album.
Okay.
And then, Paper Gods. And then if we go back through their catalog, we're going to find a few interesting things. Hold on. There we go. I don't necessarily have these in order, but now someone reminded me that they had an album between. So Paper Gods is, I think, my favorite album of theirs. My second favorite album of theirs is Astronaut. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Astronaut. And this is the one, Cody, that I was talking about. There's one song on here that I really love, and it kind of feels like an Olympics song. kind of tacky in that way. And the chorus is like, we're gonna take it back. You've got to fight for what you believe. Been on a quiet attack, and now it's time for you and me. Gonna take it back. Like it's super, super cliche and like cringy, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And for a long time, it was one of my top favorite songs of all time. But I had forgotten. Someone pointed out to me that there is actually an album in between this one and this one. And I think it's called This Was Now or This Is Now or something like that. And it's got kind of like a purple. Here, I'll bring up a picture of it. It's got a purple cover, purple and black cover, I believe, and that's sort of how I keep it, which this album is purple and black as well, if you can tell. Maybe it looks a little red there. But, let me just see here. This will help me organize my whole thing anyway, in terms of what I do have. Man, they have a lot of albums.
All You Need Is Now.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. All You Need Is Now.
Was 2010, and then there was Red Carpet Massacre in 2007, so there's 2 of them.
Okay, so I was completely wrong. I do have Red Carpet Massacre.
Okay.
And then All You Need Is Now, and I thought for the longest time that I had that album because I have this album, which is McDazzle Land or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought this album was All You Need Is Now. Now, someone did point out in the comments that All You Need Is Now is actually is their favorite Duran Duran album. And I want to say I have heard the whole album, I think all the way through once maybe, and I remember it being really, really, really good. So I don't have that album, and so I'm totally unfamiliar with it for the most part. Like I said, I know I've heard it at least once. But yeah, so shout out to that album. But just real quickly, I also have Red Carpet Massacre here. And then going back further into their career, I have McDazzle Land or whatever it's called. It's like the weirdest title for an album ever. No, stop. There's Red Carpet Massacre. Meddazzle Land from 1997.
Okay.
And then Thank You, which is this album.
Okay.
Which is from 1995. And then I have their Wedding album.
Oh, I have the Wedding album
which
on
is,
CD somewhere.
Yeah, which is, I think, just their self-titled, called Duran Duran.
Yeah, that has Ordinary World on it.
Yes, Ordinary World, and I think... I thought Notorious was on here, but Notorious is not on there.
No, they have an album called Notorious. I have Notorious.
Notorious.
There's Notorious.
Yes. Okay, you froze, but I can see part of it.
Oh, okay. That says 86.
Okay, so then I also have what I think a lot of people consider to be one of their best albums, Seven and the Ragged Tiger. So I have that one.
Do you have that one on vinyl?
I do have this one on vinyl.
Okay, because I realize I have 2 here.
Yeah, I do have that one on vinyl.
And I was going to give you one.
Or at least I think I have it. I couldn't find it earlier, but I think it's over on the other side of the room. So that's the last album I have on CD.
Okay.
But then if we go back a little bit, I have Rio on vinyl.
Classic.
Yep, that's their second album. And then I also have a copy of their first album. They're self-titled. I guess this one's self-titled too. Duran Duran.
Oh, weird. Is that might be a single?
No.
Oh.
No. This is Planet Earth, Girls on Film, Is There Anyone Out There? Fearless Memories.
Yep.
Waiting for the Night, Sound of Thunder, Friends of Mine, and Tel Aviv.
Gotcha.
Now, I will say, in terms of their like classic songs, from the 80s, I like some of them, but I think Rio is a really awesome song with all the things. It's really cool. And then I'm not sure if I care too much for their music from the 90s. I think most people probably don't. But somewhere along the way, they really turned it around. And I remember in 2004, when Astronaut came out, I remember seeing them perform the song Reach Up for the Sunrise, which is the first track off this album. I remember seeing them perform it live on, I think it was Much Music at the time, back before it was called the Fuse Network. Might have been Fuse already by that point. But I remember seeing them perform that song live, and I remember being like, this is awesome. This band sounds really awesome live, which you know, and people who watch the channel know, is not something that I tend to say very often because I don't really care about live stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I remember that being a pretty big deal. And because of that, I went and bought this album. And then years later, I actually got the album in long box format. I don't know if they call this long
cool.
box. But it's a deluxe edition, although the disc is the exact same. The disc is totally the exact same.
Oh, I think I have that.
I
thought that cover
looked
looked
familiar. There's a second disc in here. This is live at Wembley. Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. That's funny. I swear I have that package there without the slipcover though.
Oh.
Because I have like a Duran Duran thing that has 2 flaps on it. I'm like, what the hell is this?
I bet you do.
Yeah.
I think this was pretty if you look this up on Discogs, it's not really worth very much at all. It's worth about the same or even less than the regular CD version. So I think this was very prolific at the time. They made a lot of copies of this. But it actually comes with a live DVD. Was it like their big comeback
or something?
I think that's what it was kind of considered at the time.
Okay. I guess they had one in 2000, but yeah.
The funny thing about that, though, is that the Reach Out for the Sunrise song is... If you didn't know Duran Duran and you listened to that song, you would think it was like a crazy praise worship song. Because like the chorus is, reach up for the sunrise, put your hands in to the big sky. You can touch the sunrise, but your heart, whatever, you'll take the big time. Like it's, and that's how he sings it. Like he walks around stage going, reach up for the sunrise. And it's, like I said, I saw him perform it live on Fuse Network or whatever, and it blew me away. And so, and then actually what I was going to do is have you listen to that song, and then the second song on this album, which is Want You More, which I think is probably the best song on the album, other than Finest Hour, which is the, gonna take it back, you got to fight for what you believe. So, yeah, so I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing, just a little way to go through their discography. Before we get to the songs, though, I want to bring up a few comments from our last video because I think there was some great comments just about Duran Duran in general. And in that video, I was having a hard time remembering the names of the guys in the band. And I feel embarrassed after the fact that I didn't remember Simon Le Bon as being the vocalist, Simon.
I didn't know their names, and I like them.
I think when I tell you the names of some of them, you'll be like, oh, I've heard that guy's name. So let me find that video real quick, and we'll go through a few of the comments, and I think that'll be a fun way to kind of like get into this. Okay, so I found the comments for this video. Some of them are really great. Some of them are a little hurtful. So the first comment on here, which is by Amon Connolly 8029, 13 days ago, posted, cheesy, good grief. And it's not mixed well and amateur, hilarious. You have the right to your opinion, but as far as credibility goes, that's another bar.
I think I may have used the word cheesy to describe Duran Duran's.
I think I said that too. I was like, I think people just see them in like a cheesy way.
Yeah, I think I said I see them kind of as cheesy, but I like them. So I don't know. It's whatever, man.
So this person says... this is from Natalie Claire 6319. Dance Macabre is not a commercial song in my opinion, which is what we were saying. I didn't know what to make of it at the first time I heard it, but then I was at their show in Toronto on the 19th and they played it live. It has been stuck in my head ever since. It's super spooky. And then their next single they just released features Nile Rodgers, an ex-guitar player, and Andy Taylor, and it's definitely worth a listen. So they were talking about that. So that's getting a little bit more into it. But a lot of people were excited, and they're posting about the second single. I think a lot of people like that a lot more. Here's one that says, my first video of you guys. I went down the Aha rabbit hole during lockdown. I have all the albums now. I was 16 when Hunting High and Low was released, but the U.S. got left behind. I had no idea they had so many albums. I was an original Duranie in the 80s as well. So that was in response to I was talking... Yeah, Duranie.
That's cool.
That was in response to how I was saying that for a while there I was trying to find good 80s bands that were consistent on their albums. And the one band that I found that really impressed me more than anything was Aha, because I believe every song that they've released is actually very high quality, and their albums are good all the way through all of their albums. This says... Here, this was a good comment, I thought. This is from Bill W. 715. You are absolutely right about the bass, John Taylor, and Duran Duran. Duran Duran's primary influences were from glam rock, which are like David Bowie and Roxy Music, to punk rock, the Sex Pistols and the Clash, to electronic music, Kraftwerk, and Yellow Magic Orchestra, which I've never heard of Yellow Magic Orchestra, so I don't even know.
No, me neither.
To disco, Chic, and Giorgio Moroder. In regards to Duran Duran being a synth pop band, Duran Duran was a new wave synth rock band, which separated them from the rest of the diverse new wave genre or groups at the time. Oh, this is the person that was saying they released their album All You Need Is Now in March of 2011. The longest they've ever gone without releasing an album was 6 years, and that was between Paper Gods and Future Past, which are their two most recent ones, other than this Halloween one. Also, Duran Duran started featuring other artists heavily on their albums starting in 2011 with the All You Need Is Now album, and not 20 years ago. So again, that's based on something I said. Duran Duran did feature artists for the first time on their Duran Duran Wedding album, released in 1994. Blah, 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 I was talking about that. And that was because I was mentioning on Paper Gods, they feature a lot of guest artists, and I think it's really awesome that they do that. And so it sounds like that's something that they've done for a lot throughout their career. So that's really cool. This one says, the vocals are indeed low in the mix, but I think it's intended that way. The song was mixed by Bob Claremountain, and he's anything but an amateur. He's a legend. Okay, so now that gives me something to talk about for a second. Hold on, my ears are sweating.
He's heating up. Get ready.
Okay. The idea that someone can be a legend and not release something that sounds bad is ridiculous. And to that point, I will say, look at what Bob Rock did with the album Saint Anger from Metallica, right? It's the biggest pile of garbage that's ever been released sonically. It's absolutely terrible. And I think it was Bob Rock. It was either Bob Rock or Rick Rubin. I get those two guys mixed up. But also, look at things like what Phil Spector did to Leonard Cohen, right? If you listen to Leonard Cohen's entire discography from front to back, there's one album that stands out like a sore thumb. And it is the Phil Spector produced 90s album of Leonard Cohen, where he completely ignored what Leonard Cohen wanted to do and added like full orchestra, full band behind him, made him perform and sing in ways that he wasn't comfortable with. And when you listen to that album, it's kind of hard to listen to.
Yeah.
And so, and Phil Spector, I don't think you even can get a legend in the industry bigger than Phil Spector, right?
Oh. Phil Spector did the exact same thing to the Beatles' Let It Be album in '69.
Really?
He kind of took control of the production, added all sorts of orchestra in the back without input from the band, and they've always hated it.
See, so the idea that because someone's a legend means they're beyond fault is false, just immediately.
But also, I don't think you were saying it's a mistake that the vocals were so low. It's you didn't like the choice.
No, I was saying that the vocals are too low for the mix.
Exactly.
This person was saying that the vocals are too low in the mix, but it was done intentionally because how could it have been a mistake when this guy who's a legend is the guy that did it? And I'm here to just tell you that legends can make mistakes.
Do you think it was a mistake, or do you think he did want them low and you just don't like it?
I think the vocals...
Both arguments are valid. I mean, you can not like something.
I think that the vocals are objectively too low.
Okay.
Which means that I think that they are incorrectly... They are the incorrect volume.
So I guess maybe that's an arbitrary distinction to make. Because obviously he listened to it. He made them that volume.
But then it was sent to mastering.
Oh, you think maybe it could have happened down the line?
Could have. For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why things could happen. And then they probably, and this is Duran Duran, and it's 2023. And we may have been listening to, the song that I ripped from their YouTube video So maybe the album version, like if I bought the CD, which I'm sure will cost a lot because Duran Duran CDs, for whatever reason, nowadays cost $25 when all other CDs
Really?
cost $15 or $12. Maybe the CD mix is completely different than the master that they have for Spotify or whatever, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
And the video came out so much sooner before the album, it could maybe be an early mix or something or early master. But yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, it was objectively wrong. So that tells you that I think there are plenty examples throughout history that a legend in the industry can still screw up and make a bad.
Yeah. And you don't have to be a better producer to someone to be able to critique them.
Yeah, that's true too.
Like some people will be like,
what did you ever do?
If you don't like it, why don't you make a better one?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's not exactly how critique works. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
you know, Roger Ebert isn't out there making better films than the stuff he watches.
Exactly, 100%. Let's see what here. I just want to try to look. I totally disagree with you guys. This single is epic. Brilliant, awesome. Simon Le Bon is the front man, John Taylor the bass player, and Roger Taylor is the drummer. And Nick Rhodes is the mastermind behind Duran Duran. See, I've heard all those names associated, obviously, with the band. I've been a diehard Duranie since 1981 and still a diehard Duranie now at 54 years old. So this person's name, by the way, is Ron Farney 6477.
Another Duranie. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know either. That's kind of cool, though.
Do you ever go to the Wikipedia page there's a Wikipedia page of like a list of what band fans call themselves for each band?
No, that's awesome, though.
It's hilarious. The best one is
Slipknot.
Do you know what the
Slipknot, the Maggots.
That's pretty good. Do you know what the fans of the band The Killers call themselves?
No, what?
The Victims.
Dude, that's awesome. That's cool. That's an awesome wiki page. Shout out to that. So anyway, those are some of the comments. I thought there was a few better ones in there, but there was a lot mentioning the names of the guys in the band, and so I thought that was kind of a fun thing to mention.
So do we need to mention them all right now?
Yeah, I've got them. I'll look in the booklet here.
You got Simon Le Bon, Nick Rhodes, John Taylor, and Roger Taylor. And Andy Taylor is a past member. So Taylor brothers?
I believe so. And I think Nick Rhodes is from the famous Rhodes organ family, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay.
So he's from like a dynasty within the music industry.
He is the keyboardist.
Now we also have, like, on the songs we're going to be listening to, almost every song and I think this is true of a lot of their more modern albums. They just have like a plethora of people that play with them on a lot of their songs. Okay. And so they'll just bring people into the studio or maybe get a track sent to them from like remotely, where they just have like, okay, we want a female backing vocalist for this. Let's either get someone famous or someone that's known or someone maybe that's toured with them in the past. So they'll just be like featuring this person on this instrument, this person on this instrument. And as I look through here, like I can see like John Frusciante, which is, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but he's the guitar player from Red Hot Chili Peppers. We have, let's see, Anna Ross is a female backing vocal we've had here. There's just a lot of people. Sorry. Lindsay Lohan, special guest vocalist.
Okay.
What year was this album? Janelle Monáe. What else? Jonas Bierre, 2015, I believe. Paper Gods.
Okay.
So we've managed to mess around for almost a half hour, and I'll probably cut some of this out. Yeah. But let's just get into listening to some of this. We have a half hour of music pulled up, so I think we can listen to all of it.
Yeah.
I have them in order that they are on the album.
Okay.
And so the songs, for everyone, just so you know, the songs that I've picked are songs 3, 4, 8, 10, and 11, and 12. So 10, 11, and 12 are the 3 final tracks on the album. And Cody, you may recall that last time I was telling you about this album, how the songs get a little bit darker towards the end. Okay. These are the two songs, Only in Dreams and The Universe Alone, are sort of the 2 songs that I was talking about doing that. They're both almost this identical length, and they are both structured almost identically as well. So it's actually really interesting to me that they have those songs back to back.
Yeah.
And I was almost tempted to be like, let's start with one of those and then end with one of the other ones. But I think let's just go through the album the way they have it. And know that the first track that we're going to listen to is You Kill Me With Science.
Silence.
Sorry, my computer's pretty far away. She killed me with science.
Science.
Killed me with science. I got that song for a long time mixed up with Weird Science. Science.
Yeah.
Which is a far better song than She
Oingo
Blinded Me
Boingo.
With Science. Yeah, Oingo Boingo. No. Oingo Boingo's Weird Science.
That's like Oingo Boingo's like shame.
Well, that's stupid because it's an amazing song. Danny Elfman should not be disappointed with that. It's amazing. It's amazing. But anyway, You Kill Me With Silence. And the reason I want to start with this is because you're going to listen to this and be like, this is Duran Duran. This is the most different song that we're going to be listening to of the songs that I've picked. Okay. And the reason for that is because half of this album is sort of like very, even for 2015 standards, modern pop music, where they use interesting drum beats and lots of low sub frequencies, and it's very compressed, and it just feels very of 2015.
Okay.
I think you could almost even say that it feels very much of today as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we're talking 8 years ago at this point. But this first song is going to be the most different. And then the rest of the songs are going to be, I feel like, a little bit more like what you would maybe expect Duran Duran to sound like. I mentioned last time that I think that their bass player has to be one of the most revered and best bass players in the industry, because when he is playing a bass guitar in their songs, you know it. The bass is such an integral part to what you're hearing. And I don't even just mean that in the fact that it sounds a little bit more funky or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just done so well, and the bass part actually matters. However, on this album, a lot of the songs don't have bass guitar. They just have synth bass and sub bass stuff. And so the first song we're going to listen to is one of those songs. I don't think there's any real bass on that song at all. And we may have one or two later on that's like that, but I think all the other songs we're going to be listening to are more like Duran Duran style songs. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay. Now, I also want to point out that this album starts off with a 7-minute, 5-second song just called Paper Gods. And we are not going to listen to that. But it's a really interesting song. And then from there, it goes into a very poppy, very put me on the radio, please single, which is kind of what every song on this album is, minus a couple of them.
Okay.
So, all right, we're going to do You Kill Me With Science. This one, you will notice there are female vocals in this, but there are, at least I think so, but there are no other people credited in this song. I think this is I think this is actually the only song on the whole album that has no one else listed. It just says Taylor, Rhodes, Laban, and Mr. Hudson, who's the name of the guy I think that produced this song and this album. It just says produced by Duran Duran and Mr. Hudson.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and give this a listen. The last thing I want to say before we get into this is I feel like the production on this album is some of the best production I have ever heard. I think this album sounds so massive. It could very easily sound overcompressed, but I personally do not think that it ever does. It sounds massive. The frequency range is as wide as humanly possible. Everything is crisp and clean and clear. And on my channel here, we talk about music production a lot. And this is absolutely something that I would look to and be like, hey, this is how production is done correctly in every aspect. So
you won't get a comment from that one guy.
I hope we don't. keep that in mind, though, as we listen to this.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You Kill Me With Silence in 3, 2, 1. A cricket is crawling by me over here, and I want to go kill it so bad. So give me any thoughts you have as we're going through the song.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and rock out.
Whoa.
Oh, this is bass. Okay, so I was thinking of a different song, but that's distorted bass guitar. So ignore what I said earlier.
Those drums are...
Oh, yeah.
That kick drum.
I think I meant to listen to this song before this, but that's okay. What?
Just that whatever that synth or whatever in the background is.
Yeah?
Really cool.
I love how the chorus came down in energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have immediately thought Duran Duran with this.
Yeah.
I mean, I do recognize the lead guy's voice.
Sure. He has a very distinguishable voice.
Yeah.
Yes, this part. They always insist on using like 80s keyboard sounds.
Yeah.
And I love that they do that. Like that choir patch should not be in a song that sounds like this. But the fact that it is, I love it. It ties it back to their 80s roots. I love it so much. And so many artists are so afraid to use any sound that sounds like it's coming from the 80s unless they're a throwback band.
Right.
You know? I was going to wait and tell you this later, but I want you to think about Pink Floyd a little bit when you're listening to these songs.
All
okay?
right. Whoa. Yeah.
Notice how wide the mix is. So wide.
I love just all the instrumentation on that track.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it. It's very floaty and it's just going from one thing to the next.
But when it first starts, you're like, this sounds like a generic rap beat. You know, you're like, this sounds like some amateur who's making a rap beat.
Yeah.
And the more it goes, the more it is added to it, and the more you're like, oh, this is genius. So I do think that I meant to play the song before that.
That's okay.
And I'm just an idiot. However, that does get my point across. Like, that whole thing felt to me much more like an electronic song than a band, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, are you ready to rock your socks off?
Okay.
Are you ready to have fun in the sun? Are you ready to have a party, a jam in the streets with Janelle Monáe, featuring Nile Rodgers, who is one of the original members of the band, who's not full-time member of the band, but
Oh, that's cool.
comes back to contribute certain things. I believe
That's awesome.
Yeah, I believe he played guitar. And so on this song, you'll hear a little funkiness in there.
So is he just like retired now? And
I'm not sure. Possibly. But I know he
That's
does
cool.
feature on like every one of their albums in certain songs.
That's great.
So, yeah, maybe not their most recent one, which is why they asked. Now, I was going to point that out too. Like, I kind of feel like they approach a lot of their albums differently depending on what the project is. Like this Paper Gods album, they really focused on collaboration. And so I feel like they maybe had different producers for different songs.
Yeah.
Like the next song we're going to listen to is going to sound completely different than the song we just listened to. So it would make sense to me if they made it like a pop album, right? Like a Taylor, not Taylor Swift, like a Britney Spears album or something like that, where every song is basically just written by, produced, and made by a different person and then just brought to the band.
Yeah.
That's not what they're doing here, but I feel like there are elements of that in each song. And so, but then I think for their most recent album, Future Past, they got a group of musicians together, including Graham Coxon from Blur, and they got together and were like, let's write an album. And so I think that's just kind of, it depends how they approach their albums. But okay. So this next song, Cody, is just fire.
Okay.
And there's a funny part in it where it sounds like they've stubbed their toe and they're going, oh, 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 oh. And I want to just point that out because it'll make you chuckle now the first time it happens.
Okay.
I was going to see if you noticed it before we after we listened to it, but I wanted to point it out so that you can listen to it.
Okay.
This song is just chef's kisses all over the place. One thing I got to point out, because right at the beginning, there is a very awesome off-time thing that's going to happen. It's like a repeating loop that is off-time with what's happening. And oh my God, I love it so much. It sounds like it's just wrong and it doesn't belong in there, but like it just is catchy and it just is just perfect. It's so perfect.
Okay.
Are you ready to get your brain blown?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, this is Pressure Off. Track 4 from Paper Gods by Duran Duran featuring Janelle Monáe and Nile Rodgers. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Listen to that bass. Distorted lead vocals. It's so funky.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds. What's that Bruno Mars song? When he, like Uptown Funk.
Oh, Uptown
right?
Funk. Yeah.
This rivals that, and that is like nothing is made like that anymore. You know.
Right. Yeah.
But this is like that. This is like dancing in the street. This is like. This is like no people don't make music like this anymore.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
They're doing so many more interesting things with synthesizers than you would hear in their older music.
Yeah,
as
for
far
sure.
as long as the songs I know, at least.
Sure. I love it.
Whoa.
Now we've got a funky clavichord in there. The wah on it.
I'm lost, don't wanna be found. I'm not gonna be down. Outside looking in on myself, just me. I couldn't be any.
And I don't even mind the cheesy crowd noise.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Synth strings.
Crowd noise is weird.
I can't. That song is so good, man.
Yeah, that's great. That's so just a fun party song.
Right? But I mean, I feel like it goes beyond that, though.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like I kept saying Dancing in the Street. For some reason, that's the song that it makes me think of. Like, what's the Dancing in the Street song? Like, the Dinah Ross song or whatever.
Yeah. All the people around the world coming dancing in the street. Yeah.
Whatever. I can't think of it. I'm thinking of Sister Act, right? When they're playing it actually in Sister Act 2, the superior of the Sister Acts. Whatever. But just like something feel good, something funky,
Right,
something with the groove that you just can't not dance. And it's just,
I wonder, did they do a music video for that song? Because
I don't know. I don't know which of the songs were their big singles, but
they should have.
Doesn't that feel like it could have been a single?
Yeah, yeah.
What you're going to realize is every song on this album could have been a single, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
So far, I'm loving both those tracks.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one we have is something that's going to be way different. Okay? I don't want to even talk about this at all. I just want to get your opinion. Okay?
Okay.
So this is Sunset Garage, track 8. We're skipping several songs now.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1. Sunset Garage. I love the guitar part in this song. Right? That groove.
Yeah.
Halfway drunk, you'd never fail with your big guy punk, fashion fingernails, something cooking.
Oh, there's so much tasty stuff in this song. That little bell. Bing, bing, bing.
What a state we're in. How do we get so far? Whatever happens, we're okay. Hey, we're still alive to watch a sunset garage day.
Garage.
Garage.
I forgot. I was the whole time I meant to say Sunset Garage. I forgot. So Holly Cook is the lady who's doing vocals on this song with him. That's the only additional musician. That just sounds like such an old-timey riff, right?
Yeah.
It's like an old school thing. I don't know how to explain it.
Comes out like a bruise.
And yeah, I was going to point out, so far not a single real drum that we've heard on any of these songs.
And they fix my car. Maybe later.
Oh,
Could take it
spread vocals, so done so well.
Whatever happens, we're okay. Hey, we're still alive to watch a sunset carriage day. Head into the light. Oh,
Man, they just sound so different than their older stuff. It's,
gonna make it
It's like they moved on with the times, right?
I mean, yeah, good for them.
bring us down. We're gonna bring
I had no idea that they were making music like this these days.
Yeah.
to our sunset carriage day.
Oh. Half tempo. I love that tinkly stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
and the bass is just phenomenal. And
Like
nothing,
a wind chime.
nothing's fighting itself. Everything sits in the mix perfectly, and it's thick and massive. You know.
Yeah. It's like a test tone they were playing.
It's a sunset carriage day. Oh yeah,
Oh, you think it's gonna fade out, and then they
Not a fade out.
end it properly. Cool. Yeah, that one was good. I didn't like it as much as the first two, but the vocals were killer on it.
Right, and I don't like that one as much either, but I threw it on there because I just wanted you to feel that groove
Yeah,
and to just like kind of experience the variety.
yeah, you got to get a mix.
One thing I want to say, and I've talked to you I think about this before too, and I've mentioned it on my channel before, like there's just something special to me. I feel like you can feel it. It's like an intangible thing. But there's just something about a band and guys that have been around for so long that they've had time to like mature and grow into themselves and become legends. Those people making music in their, like, not that Duran Duran's so old guys are gonna die, but like it's just special when you get people who are veterans in the music industry crafting these songs, right? Because there's just something about that like guitar riff that feels classic. It feels timeless. That it almost feels like it shouldn't fit into the song or on this album based on what we've heard so far, but it totally works. And like then the background vocals are just so lush and they're big and they're spread so wide. Everything is so perfect. They have just the perfect amount of like fake distortion on things, like his voice, the bass at times. Oh, so good. You have anything else about that song?
No, I guess not.
Okay. It's so good. All right, so now we are going to listen to my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
Believe it or not, even more so than Pressure Off, although this is going to be somewhat comparable to that.
Okay.
This to me is sort of like the obvious single type thing,
Okay.
but I love it. I absolutely love it. The moment this starts, you'll be like, this is a Patrick song. This is a Patrick song. Are you ready to listen to a Patrick song?
Yep.
All right. Butterfly Girl in 3, 2, 1.
Ooh.
by the look on your face, you've been awake all night. There's
So this song's synth bass.
Yeah.
Anna Ross, the female vocal in this song.
Okay. Yeah, this one's fun.
Yeah. Didn't expect that big guitar bend, did you?
No. Yeah, I think the female vocalist makes this song.
100%. And that little craft rookie, like,
Yeah.
I love it. Ho, ho, ho. I love that they do stuff like this.
Yeah.
I guess it'd be hands open because of the butterfly. Oh, like this? Yeah. Rocket.
That guitar sounds like Matthew Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, and then all the effects go away and it's just dry. Oh,
Yeah, that was fun.
it's
That was up there with Pressure Off. I think I prefer Pressure Off, but
okay.
that was cool.
It's like they're like, how can we make every second of this as amazing as possible?
Yeah.
It just absolutely blows my mind. Right?
Yeah, the two different vocalists work very well together.
Yes.
Which yeah, I think that's the one thing I prefer over Pressure Off is them going back and forth like that was really great.
And that song's definitely a lot more like straight to the point. You know, it's way shorter. It's, you know, they just but then I just love that enormous guitar thing that just again feels like it shouldn't necessarily fit within the context of the song.
Right.
But it just works. And it's so massive and loud and it's spread wide, but it just works. Oh, God, I love it so much. And then when they choose to end it with just the vocalist, and they like the effects on her vocals, and it's just her dry. Oh, you wouldn't have to do that, but they did it, and it is so good. Okay, so now we're to those two final songs. You can see they're longer.
Okay.
First is Only in Dreams. Let's just go ahead and get this one started, and we can talk about it as it's going if you have anything you want to point out.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. It's really hard for me to pick of these two songs which one I like more, but I think it's Only in Dreams.
Okay.
A little bit awkward, but
Yeah.
yeah. This song's obviously about dreams and stuff. All the little...
Cool.
Yeah. It's a great way to start the song. And I love that background part, that like harmony vocal part. Oh, so tasty. Oh, so good. The bass here is so weird.
That
You like the drums?
is that what those are?
Yeah.
It's that. Like that distortion on everything in this.
Yeah. Oh, keep it going.
Yeah, that one was cool. Wasn't my favorite so far.
Oh man, I think it might be my favorite
Sorry.
now.
Yeah.
I just, first of all, how is that not the last song on the album, right?
Yeah, that's weird. I can't imagine
Right?
them then following that up with another 6-minute song. Mm-hmm. Weird.
Especially the way it ends, like
Yeah.
they give the whole song so much time to breathe.
Right.
I absolutely adore that song and how much time they give it. And I love the fact that they do the chorus 3 times. The third time it comes back, they double it and they change the words. It's a double length chorus. That's awesome. Like so many bands with a long song like this would not do that, and they did that. And I just feel like we're almost entering sort of like prog rock territory here with how long it is, the complexity of those arrangements. But then you insert this like funk thing kind of on top of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of is almost a little jarring. But then you're like, there's something here. There's something here that works. And then he starts singing about vampires and stuff. And you're like, this kind of works all together. Like,
Yeah.
it does make sense. It's kind of this like dark, weird thing. And the whole intro to the song's like 2 minutes or a minute and a half or whatever long. And he goes through that whole phrase and it's like weird because it's like, well, that's kind of a weird in your world. Like it's a weird
Yeah.
thing. And
Right.
and then the only in my, like the beautiful vocal, the lush vocals come in and it's like a whole secondary part. And then there's these like really cool like little bell parts and things and these strings, which we didn't hear a song, but earlier on in the album it is established that there are like strings on some of the songs. Whether they're like, it's mostly just the ballads, the slower songs.
Sure.
So the strings you heard there in this song were real strings,
Okay.
for the most part at least. I'm sure there was probably some, supplemental synthetic strings, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't. Anything else on that one?
No, cool. I mean, I'm curious to hear what the next one sounds like, actually.
Knowing that that's how
Right.
Like,
yeah.
it
Like,
feel-
what are we
that
going to follow
feels-
that with?
that feels like an ending to the album, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Now,
But also, like, there was parts of that that's... the next song is called In the Universe Alone. And there's, like, there was parts of this song where it's like, it felt like it could have been a song about the universe,
right.
you know?
And I do think that there is something about, we don't talk about stuff like this very much on the channel, but like I do think there is definitely a lot of symbolism and like there's a lot of interesting things in that song about dreams and like the way the song's structured, the way that it goes ups and downs, like the way even the sounds that they're using I think are specifically all meant to all enhance the idea that the song is about dreams. So there's a lot of like abstract ideas there and stuff. And
It's supposed to feel like a dream.
yeah, and not a lot of things like that really like interest me too much, but I really feel it in that song. I think that they did such a good job there.
And what was the Grace Potter song with the
The Delirious at Night one.
Delirious? Yeah. Kind of reminds me of although she pulled that trick off way more intensely.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But for sure, it's the same kind of thing. Right, exactly. All right, so now the last track on the regular edition of the album. I have the deluxe edition, and there's 3 sort of like kind of generic-y, not generic, but there's 3 sort of like funky, slower song or faster songs again after this one. But
Okay.
this is the official last track on the album. So remember, the last song kind of like, you remember what it did when it ended. Now let's go right into the Universe Alone. In 3, 2, 1.
It's beautiful, the dying sun.
That like shrill noise.
Everything and everyone. So shall we make a plan, my friend? As if we had the chance to live it all again. I'll see you in some other lifetime.
it's very similar to Only in Dreams.
Yep, yep.
Anything you'd really want to change.
By the way, that album art is pretty terrible.
I agree.
Yeah. Those don't peel off, do they?
Nope.
Yeah.
No song titles anywhere.
Oh, that's annoying too.
I feel like this song feels more jarring when it comes back into this like funky verse part.
Yeah.
It spins and goes around with darkness and the heart.
But maybe that's the point. Like, in fact, I'm probably pretty sure that it is the point to be a little jarring.
Right. There's just less interesting things going on in this song compared to Dreams.
Just give it a little bit.
Okay. Whoa. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Sounds like my Advent speakers.
There you go.
Yeah, I really like that distortion at the end. That was my favorite part of that. But
Yeah. Which those drums are sort of a continuation of the idea that they started at the end of the previous track. So like it
yeah.
might sound kind of silly that those two songs are back to back on the album in terms of because they're so similar,
yeah,
but I really do like listening to them back to back. And then the next song that comes on is a kind of another pop one. And then the final two songs
the bonus tracks.
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
final two songs are a little bit more, not necessarily like those songs, but they're a little bit more dark, I guess. And so I also like that the Universe Alone does not sort of like overstay its welcome. You know, they only do the full chorus twice.
Yeah.
Once without any instruments in there, and then once when all the instruments come in. And then the third time it's supposed to happen, he does the first line and it's a little distorted and kind of faded out. And then they have hints of it in there, but then that's when the sort of distortion and everything comes in, and that's when they bring in that like low bass or the low brass notes. I just really love the songwriting there. I think it's really cool. And to have those two songs on an album full of songs like the other songs we listened to as well.
Yeah.
You know, like we did skip one of the other ballads in the middle of the album where it's more strings and it's definitely more of like sort of like a ballady ballad song.
Okay.
But most of the songs we skipped, I feel like are a little bit more similar to the first track that we listened to, where it's
that was good.
Yeah, like more of like a kind of like a hip hop beat or something. They do more like straightforward synth stuff in some of the other ones. Now listening to these songs with you, I think you might even like some of the other songs more than the ones I chose to show you.
Yeah.
But like I said, I chose the ones to show you because I wanted to give you a little bit of the variety, and I also think that like we just couldn't not do Pressure Off and Butterfly Girl because they're so good.
Yeah.
Even though I do feel like they're both kind of similar.
Yeah.
So I could have picked something completely different. And also I was going to say, remember, the album starts with a 7-minute song that is doesn't really feel like the two we just listened to, but it's definitely a very stretched out and different sort of thing.
Okay.
So the whole album is just so good, in my opinion. Now, a lot of the songs we did skip fade out. So there's a lot of songs that fade out on this album, which is a big bummer to me. We had 2 songs, one song that definitely faded out in the ones I showed you, and one that kind of did, and then they kind of faked us out at the end there. But yeah, I don't know. So what are your thoughts overall?
Well, I've never been a fan of the slow Duran Duran songs.
Okay.
And the only one I could think of off the top of my head is Ordinary World.
Yeah, and I don't think I know that one. So
yeah, I think that was a hit, but maybe one of their last big hits.
You know, it's interesting. The only Duran Duran songs that I think I know, if I think about them off the top of my head, which I hate.
Old ones.
Hungry Like the Wolf. I hate that song.
Yeah,
I hate that song. But then Rio.
You like Rio, though.
Notorious. Like that song. I've listened to, of all the albums I have, all the older ones, I've listened to Seven and the Ragged Tiger, or tried to listen to it more than the other ones, just because I know that's sort of more of a revered album. And I think it's a little bit more musical. And I think that's when people started to take them a little bit more seriously as musicians and stuff.
Save a Prayer.
But I can't think of any songs off that album.
Save a Prayer is kind of a slower one.
Yeah, I don't think I know that one.
This is one of their live albums, by the way.
Okay. That might be a good greatest hits way to think of it.
That's just what I'm using it to remind myself. And they had a Wild Boys is on this album.
Oh, Wild Boys. Okay.
Wild Boys.
Yeah, see, I know a metal band that covered that song, so I know that song because of that. And I think I've heard the original version as well.
But yeah,
I knew that was Duran Duran.
I've never liked their slow stuff, but that Pressure Off and Kill Me With Silence and Butterfly Girl, those were killer.
Yeah.
I really like it. I'll have to look into some of their newer stuff because I didn't know they were making such cool music.
Yeah, really. You know, and because you know that I like, and we've talked about this a lot, that I like 80s bands that are still doing music now.
Yep.
Duran Duran is definitely the most different of all those. Like a lot of the bands that I do like that are 80s bands sound sort of in the vein of like a Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Which Depeche Mode themselves are very different because they have basically led electronic music to where it's been for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the bands that I listen to, like Simple Minds, Camouflage, which then became the band Mine.
Information Society.
Yeah, Information Society, even Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark.
Yeah.
Even Pet Shop Boys to a certain extent nowadays, but they've been always a little different. But like all those bands feel kind of like a very specific style of music that I love.
Yeah, I would say that those all fit in a pretty narrow genre.
And it's I think that's like my favorite genre of music. And there are some modern bands that do that stuff too. Like, what
would you call it? Just like darker new wave kind of thing?
I've always heard of it described as sort of like EBM, which is electronic body music.
Okay.
Which is a whole separate thing, which is kind of based a little bit more in industrial music. But that's what like VNV Nation is technically categorized as. And bands like VNV Nation are much different than Simple Minds, of course.
Yeah.
But bands like that, and Mesh is a good example of a band that I think is just absolutely perfect. Even bands getting into more modern bands, like I think a band that would be sort of comparable to this that's a modern band would be one of my favorite bands of all time called Hertz. I think that they are sort of comparable to this, to Duran
Yeah.
Duran. I'm trying to think of the music on my shelves, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. But
I'm surprised you never got into like Joy Division and New Order and stuff like that.
yeah, I do have one recent New Order album called,
Okay.
I think it's their last album they released that was like a real album. Because I think that they released an album of covers a couple years ago. And then before that, they released an album called Complete or something like that. And
Yeah.
I do enjoy that album, but not as
Okay.
much as this other stuff that I've mentioned, like the Information Society and things like that.
Okay.
However,
Music Complete was their last album.
Music Complete. I knew it was Complete something. Yeah, that album is actually pretty good. But when I try to go back and listen to like 80s New Order, like other than Blue Monday, I don't
Yeah.
know if I've ever heard a New Order song that I like. And Joy Division is, I think, something that would maybe be interesting for us to listen to on the channel at some point.
Yeah.
And I know
we
that
could.
they have like a huge cult following, so the video might get some views. But
Yeah.
that is not something that I think that I will like very much. However,
Okay.
there are a ton of bands that I love that's like their main influence. For example, White Lies, Interpol, She Wants Revenge, which is a band I would love to talk about with you sometime.
Yeah.
They're a really interesting band.
Joy Division, they predated Depeche Mode, right?
Yes. Their first album, I
Okay.
think, came out in 1979, Joy Division.
Okay. That's crazy.
So, yeah, for sure. And I think that
So it might be interesting just from a academic
a
standpoint.
musical historian
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah, 100%. Because the only song of theirs that I know is Love Will Tear Us Apart. And I honestly don't even know if I've heard their whole version of that song, but that's like the number one most covered song in the history of music.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, it's like so, yes, yeah.
I think I've only heard theirs.
Yeah, Love Will Tear Us Apart is like done by every band. But I think like Joy Division's like reach in the music industry is so far out. Like so
Yeah.
many bands that you wouldn't necessarily think cite Joy Division as like a big influence.
It is like a musician's band.
Yeah,
of those
yeah, and it's
that
definitely
you
like
hear more
it's
about
like
their
weird,
influence.
right? It's like against the
Yeah.
grain type of stuff.
Yeah, it's I would say like gothic new wave kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was before any of that stuff existed, right?
Essentially, yeah.
So
Yeah, as far as I know, they were pretty big pioneers. And you mentioned earlier Roxy Music in some other context, and that might be an interesting one to do too.
yeah,
Sometime.
I don't even know who that is. So
Yeah, it's.
there's
I
just
don't
so
know the
many
people
things
in
I
it,
don't know. You know,
I think it was Brian Eno.
it's exciting, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian, he's definitely known for his production and stuff. So
Right. Yeah.
definitely like a very well respected person in the music industry.
Roxy Music is a band that, from what I've heard from them, I've only heard a few songs and I really love them all. And so that would be interesting just for me to hear because I bet I would like it.
What do they have a song that I would know?
Oh, God, Roxy Music. Love is the drug.
Oh, I know that song because it was covered in one of my favorite movies of all time, Sucker Punch.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so they had a ton of hits in the UK that were like top 5, it looks like, and hardly any in the US. Their top charting thing in the US was Love is a Drug at number 30.
Okay,
So
interesting.
people in the comments, that's why we don't know Roxy Music that well. They were not played on the radio here.
Wow, some suggestive album artwork.
Oh yeah, for sure. For 1970 or whatever they were earlier, and
Yeah,
they're a
wow,
little bit
Love is
glam.
the Drug was 75.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saxophone.
Oh well,
Get that out of here.
they have a lot of long songs. I think
This almost makes me think of the band Roxette, which I just discovered last year.
Roxette is great too. Yeah.
Well, and we talked about Missing Persons. That band blew my mind. Totally blew my mind because, well, whatever. We don't need to talk about the whole history of 80s music and stuff, but it's very interesting because when you listen to modern bands and you're like, wow, this feels like throwback 80s, right?
Yeah.
But then when you try to think of like a specific thing that it's throwing back to, you're like, I don't know. It's just kind of like a feeling, right?
Yeah.
But then I heard Missing Persons, and I was like, this is
was
what
like the prototype.
everything that I was thinking of before that was like all these crazy synths and these awesome like square wave bell sounds and things
Yeah.
that I was just like, wow, that's so 80s. That is what Missing Persons is like from front to back. Every song of their like 3 albums is just amazing.
They're good. I have a hard time getting over their vocalist sound.
Yeah, see, she doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah. I don't usually get hung up on that, and I like unique female vocalists, but
Yeah.
I looked up the Mother of Pearl is the Roxy Music song that I like a lot. I don't know if it was a hit, but I heard it once and put it on my playlist, so I listened to it a lot.
Okay.
Kind of a longer one.
Before we go, I'm going to look up Duran Duran on Spotify,
Oh, yeah.
and we're going to see what their biggest song is.
I mean, it's going to be Rio, probably.
Actually, you might have to do it because I don't think it will show me on my... I don't know if it will be Rio.
Oh, wait a second.
You'll have to look.
Spotify's changed. It doesn't show the number of plays anymore.
Yeah, Spotify has changed. You have to click.
What
Make
the
sure you
heck?
click on the artist.
Oh, yep, good call. Oh, okay. So Hungry Like the Wolf, 347 million.
Okay,
Ordinary World, 283 million.
so pretty close.
I wouldn't have guessed that that's up there. And then Come Undone from the Wedding album, which I can't even picture that one.
Yeah.
And then Girls on Film.
Girls on Film.
Girls on Film.
One of my favorite, And One, which is a band that they have a whole song that's basically a parody of Girls on Film. It's really great.
Yeah. And then Save a Prayer, 68 million. A View to Kill. I don't know what that is.
Okay. That was their James Bond theme song.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then Rio.
Yeah, I was gonna say you haven't said Rio yet.
With 70. That's weird to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hungry Like a Wolf has to be number one.
Yeah, I suppose. I feel like
Because it's
probably heard
used
that
in
the
like
most.
big movies like The Hangover or something dumb like that. And so
That's
like
true.
all of a sudden 100 million people will listen to it because of that, you know.
I remember Hungry Like the Wolf from Guitar Hero because I could play that one perfectly on Veteran, and my friend couldn't. My friend hated it because it was very repetitive and he has no rhythm, so he couldn't just like tap to the music, even though you had to hit the same note over and over the entire song. So that one always sticks in my mind. I listen to that one a lot playing Guitar Hero.
Yeah, for me that song is all about the end of Shrek when the big bad wolf sings.
I feel like we've
Hungry
covered
Like a Wolf.
every song that's appeared on a Shrek movie on your channel at some one point or
Dude,
another.
there's no reason not to. Shrek has some of the greatest music of all time in it, and I
Yeah.
stand by the fact that I think the first 3 Shrek movies are some of the greatest animated movies, if not the greatest animated movies of all time.
Rest in peace, Smash Mouth.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, that happened since the last time I've recorded a video. So, yep. Yep. They have a lot of really great songs that nobody knows.
Smash Mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have some of their singles that people know, but like,
They had a pretty unique style. I don't know what you call it.
and a lot of it was it was like alien lounge music is what it was.
Yeah.
It was like sci-fi lounge music.
Yeah.
And they have a whole album. I think that's the one I have several of their albums.
Astro Lounge.
Astro Lounge. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that, I'm going home. Like, there's a lot of really cool songs on there. Hiding from the sun or whatever that song is. Might as well be hiding from the
Walking on the Sun.
Walking on the Sun, yeah.
Yeah.
Good there, and then all their myriad number of covers that they did for movie soundtracks.
Right, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Anyway.
shout out to Smash Mouth. In an unironic way, because we don't like bands ironically here. We
Yeah,
appreciate
no,
them for
I like Smash Mouth, for real.
what they do. All right, well, that's enough for this. Cody, we converted you to a Duran Duran fan?
Yeah.
Would you call yourself
I will listen. A Duranie?
Duranie?
No, I don't think I'm allowed to. I insulted them by calling them cheesy.
I don't think I could definitely not be a Duranie when I couldn't remember any of the band members' names last time. But I will
Yeah.
say, listening to this has gotten me pumped to hear the Halloween album. So
Yeah, me too.
very excited for that.
We could do that one if we somehow had time.
Yeah,
but
we'll
doubt
see
it.
what ends up happening because probably wouldn't get to it till like the middle of November.
I'm going to be out of the country and then get married at the end of this month.
Which
so.
it's like, I don't know if
Yeah.
we can wait till halfway through November to do it. That kind of seems silly for a Halloween album.
that kind of defeats the whole purpose.
But that's all right.
I'll be listening to it.
Yeah, we'll enjoy it, I think, on our own for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me, Cody. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Check out other stuff here on my channel if you like that. If you like 80s stuff and whatnot, we did a whole Talking Heads reaction earlier this year, so you can go check that out. What was that album called?
Oh, Little Creatures.
Little Creatures. I couldn't think of it earlier earlier today. There was a big thread on Facebook about it because I think people are thinking about Talking Heads a lot more because of that movie or whatever that's out.
Yeah, we probably posted that at a good time because there's kind of been a renewed interest.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know was coming.
Maybe we should do another one of their albums.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could have done the re-release of the live album. Considering
I would
know
love
you
to
hate
watch
live
that
music.
film. Like, I would love
Yeah.
to watch the film because the footage in that trailer makes it look bonkers amazing. So,
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye-bye.